Eat, sleep, bet, repeat. That's how we get down on the opening line at EliteSportsBetting.com. I'll be your host, Benny Ricciardi, and today we're going to be talking a little NBA action. We only have 6 games on the docket tonight, and I got to be honest, it's not a very easy slate to look through, mostly because of injury news. I think as of about an hour ago, 4 of these games didn't even have totals up. They've all just kind of posted this morning. And again, it's going to rely a lot on which of these guys are in and which of these guys are out. Hopefully, we'll be able to find some value in it. And in order to find that value, I bring in my 2 experts here today, Mr. Frank Brank and Mr. Golfman Paulie, also known as Fried Egg Paulie if you're following over on the Twitter machine. So we'll start with you, Frank. How's it going this morning?
Good, man. Good. Short slate, but we got a few plays up in the bet pack today, and we'll see how it goes. 3-0 yesterday, which is nice little day. I had the over in the Bucks game, and
Did
Giannis
that,
was
did that
out.
hit by halftime, or was it pretty close? I mean, I think they scored. What, they have 88 points in the first half or something like that?
Yeah, 88. It's funny because I was like, I wanted to arb off of it after the Giannis news, and it was like the line was coming back and coming back and coming back, and it was like a half point short of where I wanted to arb off. So lucky for me, I made money instead of splitting, paying the vig. So.
Yeah, I think the one thing we learned about last night is that it doesn't matter if your best player plays or not, the Washington Wizards are still going to give up points to everybody on the, whoever they're facing this year.
Right.
And Paulie, big day here today. I know you mentioned it in the pre-show before we signed on here. Victor Oladipo expected back for the first time this year.
Yep. So that just creates extra variables for us to have to scroll through.
Yeah, and there are a couple other variables in that game, and that's actually the first one we're going to talk about. So let's get right into that. Chicago, Indiana, the line actually just posted recently on this game at 215 is the total. Indiana is favored by 9. Although I have to say, I think that depends on some injury news because we're waiting to hear whether or not Malcolm Brogdon will play. We're also waiting to hear whether or not Miles Turner would play. And then, as you just mentioned, we're bringing in Victor Oladipo to the equation too. So a lot of moving parts in this game to kind of break down. Again, I know you're big on the first quarter totals with the Chicago Bulls as well. We don't have those numbers yet because they just posted the game line. So, maybe a little bit later on today, we'll have a bet on that. And you guys can go over to the package at EliteSportsBetting.com and get Paulie's thoughts on that when it drops. But what are you looking at now for this game? Like I said, there's some things in the air, but, how do you see the Chicago-Indiana game?
Yeah, with the injuries out there with, Brogdon and Turner, status up in the air, and Oladipo coming back and being on a minutes limit. This is just too high of a number here. So I'm taking the Bulls here. Whether it's anything like plus 7.5 or higher, I'd be okay with the Bulls here.
Okay.
I got the number pretty much at like plus 5.5. So it's just one where I may not say love the game, but it's just too high because even if Brogdon and Turner play, we're about kind of at a coin flip. At that number, but if either of them are out, where you got a pretty good edge.
Yeah, and I'm looking. Are you seeing the same thing I am? I'm basically seeing 9 in most places here.
Yeah, it's 9. I bet it at 8 overnight because I didn't think the number was actually going to go up. I thought if anything it would go down, and it surprisingly went up a point. So
yeah. All right, so you're even getting better odds on it now than what Paulie took if you're interested in it. He said he has it around 5. It's up to 9 now. Frank, what are you looking at for this game?
Yeah, and just, that number may have moved up, but I wouldn't put too much stock in the overnight movement. We see guys fake these numbers on screen, bet them elsewhere, and then, come back in the morning right around, it's almost 10:15 now for those watching, and typically the limits will start opening up here. So this is where you'll see the most movement throughout the day. With the injuries, I'm going to avoid this game. I do have it with my best guess at 7, so I do like Paulie's side, but I couple things. I want to see Oladipo, and I want to see who's going to play. I looked at I like the under 2, but like you said, I just don't know what Indiana's going to do, how many minutes he's going to play, how efficient he's going to be to start. So it's a game where I've kind of mixed the numbers with kind of my eyeballs, and I'll probably watch at least the first half of this game to see what I see and to see if I can trust, what I think the numbers are going to produce. That being said, game, I looked at the pace for Indiana last year compared to this year. It's exactly the same. So I haven't noticed too much of a change with Oladipo out. There's a lot of question marks here that I'm just going to wait and see, but I don't necessarily hate Paulie's side here.
Yeah, so a slight lean to the Chicago Bulls here for our guys, maybe a slight lean to the under as well. But again, a lot of moving parts in this game, a lot of guys in, a lot of guys that may or may not be out. So until we have some better information, probably one where it's better to sit on the sidelines and watch. One game where we do have a little bit of information in this game that we got to deal with as well. Detroit against Brooklyn is the next one up for us. Some big movement from the open till now from what I'm seeing here. This game opened at a 218.5 total with Brooklyn favored by 8.5. Brooklyn's now down to a 6.5 point favorite, but I'm seeing the total at 226. Is this right? That feels like a really big move here.
So from 9:53 a.m. it was 223.5. At 10:12 a.m. it's 226.5.
Yeah, so I mean that's a pretty big move that we're seeing here. I did see that Andre Drummond was questionable for this game, which could be something that could change things. It looks like Kyrie is going to be in for Brooklyn. He sat out the last game. Kyrie and Kobe being pretty close, so he kind of took it hard. The news on Kobe over the weekend, so he sat out the game against the Knicks. These two teams played about a week ago. Kyrie put up a monster game in that one, so that could be something to keep an eye out for here. Frank, we'll start with you on this one. Anything you're looking at Detroit, Brooklyn?
Yeah, so I did like this over, but in the midst of me kind of betting it moved 3 points. I still like it. I wouldn't be surprised for this to go up more. We've talked about these situations in the past where you miss the move. I don't want to play it now, to be honest. Like my numbers may support it, but knowing how the market works, I wouldn't be surprised to see some buyback here. So, half the goal here is understanding the market and how it works. You can't just blindly play numbers based on models, even though I have a tendency to kind of do that. We have to pay attention to these moves and figure out why they may be happening. I think Kyrie back speeds them up. He's a big over player, not only from a pace perspective, but he's very inefficient on defense and he's very efficient on offense. So that could be the reason for the move. I was kind of puzzled. I marked Drummond in and he's an underplayer and I still like the over. But like I said, with that movement in the last 15 or 20 minutes, with me missing that move, I don't necessarily want to buy it now with 3 worse points than what I could have gotten it.
Mm-hmm. Paulie, how about you? Anything you're looking at in this game? And, how are you handling these moves that we're seeing here, the big moves in this line?
Yeah, but I took Detroit at plus 8.5 overnight, which obviously they dropped down to about 6.5, 6 right now. I wouldn't play it at those numbers. I got the true line at 6 pretty much, so it would be a no play for me at the current market number.
Anything on that total with the movement we're seeing there?
No, not really. There's a couple point edge, but not unless I have a massive edge on a total. I tend to stray away. That's a little more Frank's cup of tea than mine in terms of like specialties. So.
Fair enough. All right, so let's talk about the next game here. We got Memphis going up against the New York Knicks. Memphis on the road actually favored by 2 points at the open, seeing it up to 2.5. Total opened at 224. Still seeing it hanging around there. A couple 223s out there, 223.5 or so. So the line's pretty much kind of staying where it started at. Anything you're looking at here, Paulie?
In terms of the Memphis Knicks game, no. You have both teams here on a back-to-back. So it's be one of those where if for some reason the Knicks get out to a lead at all on Memphis, to where we can get Memphis sitting there at plus money on the money line, I'd probably be willing to go into that game live.
All right, so something for the end game, but nothing on the pre-flop here.
Right.
Frank, anything you're looking at?
I have the game closer to +1 for the Knicks. At home, both teams are on not only a back-to-back, but both teams are on a 3 and 4.
Correct, yeah.
So they played day off, and then today's their 3rd game in 4 days. Granted, that's going to still favor the home team a little bit, with Memphis traveling. I'm not going to play the +2.5, especially just because the Knicks are awful. But I do like the under as well. I played that Memphis under last night. It hit easy. I've been riding these Memphis unders for the last week or week and a half here. It's a small edge. I got a 221. So small edge. I'm seeing some 222.5. I would play that. Nothing worse than 222.5. So some 223s out there as well. Just a small bet. Just normal under edge for me.
So what are you seeing with these Memphis unders that has you on that? What's the the reasoning behind it? Are they playing slower? Are they playing faster? Or what's going on here?
So they're playing pretty similarly. The efficiency is way down for them over the last bit. I mean, they didn't look particularly good last night from a scoring perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Let me check the Knicks here. So they may be contributing as well. Yeah. So the Knicks are, over their last 4 games, have played the slowest pace in the NBA, 16 seconds per possession, which is about as slow as I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a 1 or 2 game; it's 4 games. So their efficiency is a little better in that time period, which we do see a small correlation of that. Like when teams do slow down, look for better shots, they tend to score more per possession,
right?
But that would also create less points throughout the game. So it may benefit them. I think they realize they stink at this point, and probably playing slower games keeps them in more games, right? So limiting the possessions means limiting the time that you have to stink. That could be why I also like the Knicks. If I like the under, you would tend to see me like a home dog, say. But I'd rather just play the totals because they're a little more inefficient.
Yeah, and so this is a good spot actually to kind of go with an under, because you actually have 2 teams that are playing towards that at this point in time. So, things kind of work out for you.
Generally, throughout the year, teams slow down. So over the last 2 or 3 years, you'll see the pace in the first month of the season go through the roof. Everyone wants to be the Warriors of the last few years, or be the Rockets the last few years. Then they realize, wow, we can't play like that because we don't have 4 all-stars, 4 perennial all-stars on our team. So, you'll see the pace throughout the year, and guys get tired, right? Like, this is a long season, a lot of travel and all that. So you'll see the pace go down. The efficiency starts to go back up. They tend to level out, overall, but you won't see a team play at 14 and a half seconds like the Knicks have for the season, and then 16 seconds over the last. That's severe. So. Yeah,
no, that's the thing, is if you can kind of recognize when these things start happening, that's when you can kind of take advantage of them before the numbers actually adjust to it. So that's why I asked about the Memphis thing, because it's something I'm going to have to keep an eye on myself now. All right, so let's look at the next game here. We got Utah against San Antonio. Utah opened as a 4-point favorite with a 221 total. Utah's up to a 5.5-point favorite. The total's kind of held still, dropped a little bit, 220 and a half in some spots. Big news here, LaMarcus Aldridge going to be out again for the San Antonio Spurs. He sat out the last game, was kind of a late scratch for them the other day. So let's go here. Paulie, we'll start with you here, Utah, San Antonio. Anything you're looking at in this one?
Yeah, I got this one right at 5, so pretty much right on market. It's going to be interesting to see how Utah bounces back after what I would call the most surprising loss of the season in NBA on Monday night with them losing at home to the Rockets without Harden, Westbrook, or Capella. So a semi-G League team versus the hottest team arguably in the NBA at home, with the other team also on the altitude back-to-back, I believe, with Denver, then going to Utah. So it's kind of up in the air to see how Utah plays now.
Fair enough. Frank, anything for you on this one?
No, I've got this game pretty close. So I lean to the under. I have it at like 220, but I would want to see like a 221.5 maybe out there. So the number hasn't really changed much. If anything, it's coming down in spots. So nothing for me. I have been riding these Utah unders. Last couple of weeks they slowed way down, and then over the last couple of games they sped way up. So it was kind of interesting because they slowed way down. They had the best efficiency in the NBA in that time period, and now that they've gone faster over the last couple of games, the efficiency has come back down. It's still pretty good, but it has come back down and hasn't been through the roof like it was. So it kind of evened itself out, and they've kind of, like we've talked about before, regressed back towards what we thought that they would do, right? Like the efficiency comes down, the pace goes back towards the season number, and now we're kind of off the under train a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about this now a couple times today, but you tend to see that often when a team is playing a little faster, the efficiency kind of suffers. When the team slows down a little bit, the efficiency gets better, as Frank was saying before. You're taking better shots. You're going to, taking your time, getting better shots. You're going to make more of them, and that's going to make your efficiency go up. So those two are kind of negatively correlated to each other. As one goes up, the other one tends to go down, and kind of
Not for everybody. Like, those old Warriors teams, maybe they play better when they play faster. Even in college basketball, we maybe see Duke when they speed up, they tend to play more efficiently. A lot of it also comes back to like defense. If you're getting a lot of steals, you're getting a lot of runouts. You're going to have faster possessions and better efficiency.
Yeah, fast break points, stuff like that.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily something, maybe we see that in short spurts, but it's not necessarily something that we should expect them to change big time overall. But we still want to value it if we can explain why they're doing that.
Yeah, and in those examples that you give, I mean, Duke has 5 McDonald's All-Americans and the Warriors had 4 All-Stars. So it might also have something to do with the talent level you have. When you have a bunch of talent, you tend to want to play faster because the more possessions you can get, the cream rises to the top and all that stuff. So that has something to do with it too. Whereas when you're not a very talented team, you want to slow it down like the Knicks are doing because helps you stay in the game for longer. And then at that point, maybe you just need one little run at the end. And, that could be the difference between winning or losing. So there is a little bit of coaching that goes into it and, understanding your personnel and how you can play. So let's talk about the next game here. We got the Oklahoma City Thunder going up against the Sacramento Kings. The Kings actually opened up as a 1-point favorite in this game, and now it's kind of flip-flopped to the Thunder being about a 3-point favorite from what I'm seeing here. Total hasn't moved too much, opened at 220.5, seeing it at 221, 221.5 out here in the market at various places. Frank, we'll start with you on this one. Oklahoma City, Sacramento. Actually, wait, let me throw this out before there. Sacramento, the injury news here is nothing really new. It looks like Marvin Bagley is going to be out, but he's been out. And it looks like Richaun Holmes is also going to be out again for this game. But again, another guy who's been out for a while.
Yeah, so Bagley is like a replacement level player. He doesn't really add that much value to it, so I'm not that concerned about him being out. If anything, if that means some guys at the top like Hield and Fox get more minutes, then great. Like that I think that benefits Sacramento, and I think we've seen that play out over the last few games. Sacramento coming off that crazy game where they come back from like 20-something down, and the free throw at the end and all that good stuff. I've got this game closer to 1.5. I just think it's moved too much. I didn't necessarily disagree with the original, I agreed with the original line movement. Now I think it's a little bit too much. Sitting out there, you can get a +3.5 everywhere. I would take the +3.5. I think there's going to be some buyback to maybe 3, 2.5, something like that. At least that's what my numbers would expect. 220.5 on the total, so no play there for me. Just a baby underlean there, but I can't imagine this going up anymore. So yeah, just baby underlean, and I'm going to play the Kings here at +3.5 now that it's gone up. Okay.
Paulie, anything that you're looking at in this game here?
Yeah, I took OKC money line at -102 overnight. The number I have for the game is 4.5. So sitting at the current market number, I wouldn't touch it unless it happened to drop down to about 2.5 too.
Yeah, so I mean, basically at this point, you probably missed the move here that we would have liked, or at least that our guys were on. So they agree that it went in the right direction. The problem is it may have went too much in the right direction, or at least to the point where there's kind of no edge here left anymore at this point. So
typically with these big moves, you will see some buyback in the market, and that's kind of just what I'm hoping for here.
Yeah, and I mean, you're going to have a lot of people, when they talk about buyback, you're going to have a lot of people trying to play a middle or get a better – maybe they got in at the +1 number and now they're going to take the +3.5 number. This way, if the game stays close and ends up 2 points one way or another, you got a chance to cash both of those bets.
And there are groups too, like you'll see, if you're betting, say someone comes in with a lot of money at Pick'em or a lot of money at 1 and it moves it to 3.5 or 3, you'll see there are groups and people with a lot of money that just chase theme. Like they'll see a number start to move and then they go in and they have a lot of money. And it has been, not for everybody, but it has been a profitable way to bet. Nobody's going to bet themselves into a negative expected value. If I have a game with a 2-point edge, I'm not going to bet at 3 points, right? Because I'm betting myself into a negative situation, taking money out of my own pocket, hypothetically. Whereas you'll see steam chasers, though, that they know that. So, they'll get the extra 1 point and have much less ROI. But they'll end up moving the number into a negative expected point, so that usually some other smart folks will come in on the other side because they know that that's just a steam chase there. But I'm not saying that's the case here. I don't have any inside information, but that does happen quite a bit. That's why you see buyback a lot of the times.
Okay, so that's a good explanation of how that all works and, how some of the big guys are doing it out there for you guys. All right, so we got down to the last game now. It's Houston and Portland. This one's really tough for me. I mean, Portland opened as a 1-point favorite. Now they're a 1.5-point dog. Big total in this game, 235. It opened at. I'm seeing it even 236, 237 right now out in the market. The biggest problem I have here is we're still waiting on a bunch of pretty pertinent injury news because both James Harden and Clint Capella are listed as questionable today. Russell Westbrook was upgraded to probable, so it looks like Westbrook's going to play. Normally, I would say that this is a negative, but after what they did the other night against Utah, I'm not really sure how to handle this. So, Houston, Portland. Frank, we'll start with you up top. Anything in this one?
Yeah, everyone will remember where they were for the Eric Gordon game, right? So
the Daniel House playing center game. I mean, they went,
I was tossing money in the toilet, I believe, that night.
Yeah. Well, I think I was too because I actually told people to play the last time Capella was out. Isaiah Hartenstein had a big game at center for them. So I think he was like 60, 70% owned in most of the DFS tournaments the other night and wound up with like 4 fantasy points on a day. So there were a lot of unhappy Isaiah Hartenstein owners when the Daniel House center game wound up coming out.
So I have everyone marked in. And I'm getting like 238.5 in Houston -4. So it seems like maybe they're expecting Harden to play. I'm not too sure about Capella. Capella's more of an under player. Actually, let me check that because I don't know if that's necessarily true. Yeah, he's a little bit more of an under, but he's still kind of efficient offensively too. So maybe he won't affect the total that much. I don't know. I don't know who's going to play, but it looks like they at least expect 2 of the 3 to be in to me. I think if Harden's announced out, that number still might come down. He's obviously one of the better players in the NBA, one of the more efficient players in the NBA. He's worth about 5 points, which is almost entirely on offense. So you could see that number maybe sway a little bit. I would then have the game closer to pick'em. So I think if Harden's announced out, that game might go down towards a pick'em there. So something in here is kind of telling me that they at least expect Harden to play with where the numbers are at. But it almost looks like they're middling it a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm not too sure.
Yeah, that's actually what I was just going to ask you because you said you had it at -4 if you put Capella and Harden in, right?
Right. So it'll be I'll have my number at 4, which I rarely have a side edge, so my sides are pretty efficient. I think pretty close to the market.
Mm-hmm.
So it just seems like either they're not expecting full minutes from Harden or they're whoever's betting these numbers, someone may be betting on him playing, someone may be betting on him not playing. And that's why we're kind of seeing the middle spot there. Or if he is playing, maybe they expect him to be less minutes or less efficient or, just a little more reserved there.
All right, that makes sense. Paulie, how about you? You looking at anything on this one or how you handling this one?
Yeah, there's no action for me in this game. I got about a 1-point edge on Houston right here, but I'm not going to be donating money here with the fact that we got so many question marks in this game right now. So this is one I'll watch the game live and see how it unfolds, see if anything pops up.
See if Eric Gordon's going to put up 60.
Yeah.
Who knows? He could put up 6 tonight also. So.
Yeah. Honestly, that's not that far off from what we have seen with some of these things in the past. You had to figure he was going to get a big bump without the other 2 high usage guys in there. And, you could wind up having Westbrook decide he's going to take 30 shots tonight. And that's going to, kind of bump everybody else down out there. All right. So that's fair enough. I mean, again, like I said, it's kind of a little bit of a messy slate here today because we have some major injury news to 4 or 5 of these games with, key pieces that would really, kind of affect the way some things wind up moving here. There's a couple bets that we talked about, a couple things that we are looking at, a couple things we already know, and that's kind of where you should be concentrating. So make sure you get over to EliteSportsBetting.com. These guys put their plays up every day in the package. You'll have my plays over there. Tommy G's plays over there. We got a couple other guys doing basketball. We got college stuff going on, MMA, soccer, you name it right now. We got somebody who's probably putting some bets in and getting it on. We also have our Super Bowl bets up there as well. So it's a great week to go out and try out the weekly package. Not only will you get all these guys plays in NBA and college basketball, but you're also going to get the entire staff pick for, prop bets and things that we're looking at for Super Bowl this week. So before we sign off, anything you guys want to add here?
Yeah, check out the Up and Down. It'll be on the same channel as you're watching this. Paulie and I do a golf a video every Tuesday, it's a Tuesday every Tuesday morning, where we just quick half hour of just going through some outrights and a couple matchups if they're available. So it won't be every bet we have. Every bet we have will go up throughout the week on the bet package. But for those of you that want to fill some things out. Last week, Paulie put out Leishman 60-1 and hit on it in the video, and in the bet package. So check out the golf stuff. It's on the same channel you're watching right now.
Paulie, anything for you, or you just want to echo those same sentiments?
Yeah, I echo the same sentiment, and then also know that I'll be in chat all night because with the 6-game NBA slate plus about 60 college games tonight, it'll most likely be a busy live betting and second half betting for college tonight. So.
Yeah, I have a feeling that the college basketball betting package page is going to be pretty full today with all the games that are out there, and all these guys throwing in their numbers and their bets for it. So
I got 5 or 6 up this morning too for the 55 games or something. I got 5 or 6 up there today. So
yeah, so you'll get games from Frank, you'll get games from Paulie, you'll get games from Tommy. I think Austin's been throwing games in there as well. So you got 4 or 5 of our handicappers over there. What I like to do a lot of times is see what these guys are on, and if they're all on kind of the same thing, or a couple of them are all in the same direction. Those are usually the ones that I bet a little more than the average bet on, and tends to be working out pretty well for me over there. So for Frank and Paulie, this is Benny signing off for EliteSportsBetting.com on the opening line.